In December 1872, a ship was discovered drifting through the Atlantic Ocean with no sign of its crew. At first glance, the vessel appeared operational. Its cargo was still on board, personal belongings remained untouched, and there were no immediate signs of violence severe enough to explain what had happened. But one detail made the discovery deeply unsettling. Everyone aboard the ship had vanished, and to this day, no one has ever fully explained why the crew abandoned the Mary Celeste in the middle of the ocean. The Mary Celeste left New York Harbor in November 1870 carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol bound for Italy. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their young daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7 experienced sailors. By all accounts, Briggs was considered reliable and highly capable at sea. The crew had experience navigating difficult conditions, and the voyage itself was not viewed as unusually dangerous for the time. At first, everything appeared normal. The ship departed under stable conditions and followed a route commonly used by merchant vessels crossing the Atlantic. There were no reports of conflict aboard the ship before departure, and nothing suggested the journey would become historically infamous. But weeks later, another vessel crossing the Atlantic noticed something strange. A ship was drifting irregularly through open water near the Azores Islands. Its sails were damaged, its movement appeared uncontrolled, and despite clear visibility, no one aboard seemed to respond. The vessel was eventually identified as the Mary Celeste. Concerned by the silence, the crew of the nearby ship approached cautiously before boarding the drifting vessel to investigate. What they discovered immediately deepened the mystery, because although the ship had clearly been abandoned, it did not look like the scene of a disaster. When the boarding party entered the Mary Celeste, they expected to find signs of catastrophe. Instead, they found something far stranger. The ship was empty, no crew members anywhere on board, no captain, no passengers, no indication of where anyone had gone. And yet, much of the vessel appeared surprisingly intact. The cargo remained stored in the hold, personal belongings, clothing, and supplies were still present throughout the ship. Valuable items had not been taken, making piracy seem unlikely from the beginning. Even stranger, there was still food aboard the vessel. Nothing suggested the crew had prepared for a permanent abandonment. But despite the relatively stable condition of the ship, several details hinted that something had gone wrong shortly before the crew disappeared. Parts of the sails had been damaged by weather. Water was present inside the ship, though not at levels normally considered enough to sink a vessel of that size. Some equipment appeared displaced, and one of the ship's lifeboats was missing entirely. Then investigators noticed another important detail. The ship's log contained no clear explanation of an emergency severe enough to justify abandoning the vessel. The final recorded entries suggested the Mary Celeste had been progressing normally long before it was found adrift. And that raised a disturbing question. Why would an experienced captain order everyone to leave a ship that was still floating, still carrying supplies, and still capable of remaining at sea, especially in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Because abandoning a vessel under those conditions was incredibly dangerous. For experienced sailors, the ship itself was usually safer than the open ocean. Yet for some reason, everyone aboard the Mary Celeste had still left. And whatever decision they made afterward, none of them were ever seen again. As news of the abandoned ship spread, speculation began almost immediately. One of the earliest theories involved piracy. At first, the idea seemed possible. The Atlantic was dangerous, and attacks on merchant ships were not unheard of during that period. But investigators quickly encountered problems with that explanation. The Mary Celeste still carried valuable cargo and personal possessions. There were no clear signs of violence aboard the ship, no evidence of a major struggle, and nothing suggesting the vessel had been forcefully taken over. If pirates had boarded the ship, why would they leave behind valuables and simply disappear with the crew? Other theories followed. Some believed the cargo of industrial alcohol may have created dangerous fumes below deck, possibly causing Captain Briggs to fear an explosion. According to this theory, the crew may have temporarily evacuated into the lifeboats while waiting for the danger to pass, only to become separated from the ship in rough conditions. It remains one of the most widely accepted explanations today, and yet, even that theory leaves uncertainties. No major fire damage was found aboard the vessel, no explosion occurred, and there was still no clear evidence showing why the captain would completely abandon a seaworthy ship with his family still on board. Then came more extreme ideas: mutiny, seaquakes, waterspouts, even theories involving giant sea creatures or paranormal activity eventually became attached to the story over the decades. But the deeper investigators looked, the clearer one reality became. Every explanation solved part of the mystery, but none solved all of it, because the central question never disappeared. What convinced an experienced captain and crew that leaving the Mary Celeste was safer than staying aboard it? After the Mary Celeste was recovered, the ship itself continued sailing for years. That detail only made the mystery feel stranger, because if the vessel had truly been on the verge of disaster, how had it remained afloat long after being abandoned? Investigators spent years debating that question. Some argued the captain may have misjudged the danger, the discovering water inside the hold combined with problems measuring exactly how much flooding had occurred. Others believed unusual weather conditions or sudden pressure from cargo fumes could have triggered panic severe enough to justify temporary evacuation. But once again, uncertainty remained, because even if the crew had entered the lifeboat intending to return shortly afterward, something catastrophic must have happened next. The Atlantic Ocean offered countless possibilities. Strong winds could have separated the lifeboat from the drifting vessel within minutes. Rough seas may have made return impossible, and once distance opened between the two, survival chances would have dropped rapidly. Yet without witnesses, no final sequence of events could ever be confirmed. The crew vanished completely, no bodies were recovered, no confirmed trace of the lifeboat was ever found, and over time, the mystery surrounding the Mary Celeste became larger than the evidence itself. Writers, newspapers, and storytellers transformed the case into one of the most famous ghost ship legends in history. Some details became exaggerated, others were invented entirely, but beneath the myths, one unsettling reality remained true. A fully functional ship was discovered alone in the Atlantic Ocean, after everyone aboard had disappeared without leaving a definitive explanation behind. More than 150 years later, the Mary Celeste remains one of the most enduring maritime mysteries ever recorded. A ship found abandoned in open water, cargo untouched, supplies still aboard, and an entire crew that vanished without a confirmed trace. So what do you think happened aboard the Mary Celeste? Was the crew forced into a tragic decision after fearing an unseen danger? Or does the mystery continue because something about the story still doesn't fully add up? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes the most unsettling mysteries aren't about what was found, but about the people who were never found at all.